All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Trinity podcast thing. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new ban list that's coming out with the release of Grand Creators and Battle of Chaos. And today I have here with me. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hey, I'm Postbotch, or otherwise known as MP, current champion of the Trinity Format, going into Battle of Chaos.
I'm Vice. I come in and out at times, but mostly host locals and provide a lot of insight on deck building.
Fair enough. And as always, I'm the person who is going to be and has made a singular deck breakdown. I'm definitely going to be making more deck breakdowns in the future, but uh, came back to the tree format recently, but that doesn't matter because what we're talking about right now is the brand new ban list that just came out. With the post that Crasher made, we are going to go over it, over the changes, why they're there, and why this ban list is stupid because everyone's complaining about it.
Yeah, like from every angle, everybody's like unanimously agreed that this ban list kind of hurt like almost every deck. But like it didn't address our complaints with the ban list in the right way. It kind of like hit everything around, kind of like half-assedly, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's just go from top to bottom. Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. I was not in format for this. From what I hear, at least what I saw in the messages, this was played in a singular locals by a burrito.
It was a YTC. My friend Wu Train.
Mm-hmm.
I played this. I tested
Mhm.
this for the YTC coming up. The January YTC, or no, it was December YTC, and I tested it in Ignister, and I found it to be a kind of niche control deck because the idea was is that you would make Leo Utopia Ray at the end of a Zodiac line, and then your opponent would try to kill it. Well, they couldn't kill it because it would become like untargetable and have protection. That's just a way to close out games. But I didn't take it to the YC. I actually gave my deck list to Wu Train because he wanted a last minute list. And he won one game and he lost two games and he dropped. People found that to be so toxic that they just banned it outright right now on
All
the
right.
Yeah.
list.
So I tested it for like a couple of days in preparation for. I hosted like two events that were testing the I think it's the Bach releases. Um, I tested a specific like more like Utopia build using just the ZW and ZS cards just to try and like cheese certain things with like the shining draw support we got with the field spell and just like seeing how far you could push like the Utopia Ray opener. I still personally think Dragnar or Dragon Roar is much better of an opener compared to Utopia Ray, but that's in the past now. But it didn't really seem to stand out to me personally, but I can understand the game states it creates because if it's not dealt with, it just snowballs out of control.
Yeah, especially since you can't activate cards or effects in response to its activation, and then you can just start equipping it with a bunch of things that say, "Hey, destroy by battle," card effects. You
Yeah,
can equip the unicorn, which is additional negate on top of its already like existing negate.
yeah,
So
Oh wait, Florfish, you
yeah.
kind of got that wrong.
did,
So
did I? Because
got its effect. Oh, I'm sorry. So its effect cannot be it cannot be negated. The activation effect cannot be negated. You can still respond to it, but you can't respond to its effect you put from the deck. I mean, not you can, but like you can't negate it at all. So let's say like you summon your Utopia Ray, you activate its effect, they chain Lost Win. That effect will still resolve even though the effects of the monster are negated, or like even under something like Skill Drain. Under Skill Drain, you can still activate its effect and it will still resolve.
so it's actually worse than I thought. All right.
Yeah, but like that's not
Yeah, the
people
field
still
spell
found that annoying.
reads a bit jank, but yeah.
Mm.
The main payoff for the field spell is the attaching like Rebarian Shark.
Oh yeah, that was the play. So the idea with the Zodiac build was that you would go normal summon Rat, overlay into Brule. The Zexal field would then attach number 72 Rebarian Shark to it, and then you would attach the Rebarian Shark. And so you would search the Zodiac, and then on resolution, Rebarian Shark would then stack rank up Magic Zexal Force or rank up Magic Barian's Force to the top of your deck, and then so you would pass. And then on the follow up, if you're Broadwood live, you would just activate this rank up magic, or if it didn't, you would go summon your Zodiac that you search, overlay into a Zodiac. Now you have a rank 4 Ecclesia you can rank up into Leo Utopia, and then you would Leo Utopia equip the ZWs and then go from there. It had choke points, but like people just found it to be unfun. They didn't want another like Charles like monster that would be unkillable and then put a lot
Yeah.
of damage on board.
I feel like a lot of that does kind of lend itself to how just good zoos are in general. Because like if you just take that in a vacuum where it's not a one card XC play, like every deck, like you put that in a deck that's notorious for rank 4s like Sharks or something. They have choke points everywhere, so they can't like one card XC every time they're getting up to 2 summons. Like that's just it. And if they try to like go for like a rebariant setup, like they're probably definitely on way more bricks than they should be on in general. I don't know.
All right, so my thoughts on this card. I mean, banned. I can see it. I guess it's kind of like it can become unfun, and I guess that goes against format philosophy. I don't know.
In my personal opinion, I think they should have given it like at least another like half season to see how it could evolve in like the metagame. That's just my opinion. I think they should have gave it at least another half season until like the release of like Legendary Duelist, until like Legendary Duelist, and then peel back on it if it became too oppressive. But I can understand why people didn't like the game states it created. That makes sense.
Yeah, I am a little bit concerned that we didn't actually see anything with Dragonair or Dragon Roar. So, and when I was doing testing for those, like I was able to make boards that ended with like Hope plus the entire field banished card. I think it's like Chaos Earth, Hard Earth.
I think that's Hard Earth Dragon. Like
Yeah, Hard Earth.
8.
Like I don't know. I feel like people are not using all the Utopia cards as much as they should be, but we'll see.
All right, next is White Knight of Dogmatika. Obviously, Drytron was once a really strong deck in this format, and I feel like recently they have been using this card as kind of like their boss monster. But I want to see what you guys think because, you know, you guys have more tops than me. You've been playing in this format for longer than me, so let's see what you guys see.
Vesties, do you want to go first before I go on my mini rant about rituals?
I'll probably go on for quite a bit about this card. Like I have a vendetta against White Knight.
Okay, so I'll go first since I played through Rod format with like full power rituals, and I got to see like I've seen the evolution of rituals firsthand, and so like my problem with this card is that it's like a one side it's a one sided Maximus, but like when you resolve it, your opponent doesn't get to send their side cards because back in the day during the beginning of Rise of the Duelist format, well halfway through it, after people realized okay you have to side for Maximus, you have to put like in your Wind Pegasus, you have to put in your Cyber Dragon Nova so you can counter them. This card literally just said, okay, you get to send whatever you want. You can send your Entis, you can send your Predator Plant Rafflesia, you can send your Omegas, and then you'll just pick the best card from your opponent's extra. You can pick like their Broadbull, you can pick their Unicorn, you can pick out their Union Carrier and just send it to them. And the fact that it's on any effect, so if your opponent like activates an MST, activates an Upstart Goblin, you'll get that effect. And then the fact that in the Drytron builds you could like just summon it from the graveyard, it was really impressive. But like the thing about it is that it wasn't that consistent. It wasn't that inconsistent in the current format, in the world format. But like when they released a batch, we got a new ritual spell that lists him specifically, and that he also lists, so that you can activate pre-preparation of rites and search them both at the same time, which would then become a major issue because then they have pre-preparation rites, preparations of rites, Diviner of Herald, the entire ritual support line to be able to set it up and establish it, and then looking towards future in Dimension Force, they have a literal trap that literally says normal summon Ecclesia, search the trap, and one card out him from the deck. So that's why I'm glad that he's gone.
So, White Knight specifically, like rituals have always been like really, really construed with how they're perceived. Like I've always thought they were pretty high roll, because their turn 1 is usually just spent the entire turn searching. Like usually they didn't pass on anything unless it's like the Megalith variant. Megalith variant's probably just like ending on like full or Haggith search unformed and just pass on that. But in regards to like what we saw with White Knight, not many people played White Knight. I think White Knight was exclusively only played in like locals and just like looking for games. I don't think we actually saw White Knight in a YTC. Could be wrong on that. Again, I was like playing for a few seasons off. But when I did test this card originally, I used it primarily for the effect because I knew that like Trinity players will respect all of your cards. Like if they see White Knight and they see that if you interact, I just get to profit from it. It creates a lot of game states where they will just do as little as possible. So my plan was to just like turn the White Knight into a situation where if they don't interact with me, they lose the game, and if they interact with me, then I will just Skulgius, the fossil fusion that's currently banned now for I'm
Night Sins.
yeah, well, a lot of sins. Skolgios is really insane, but the main setup I was going for with the deck specifically, because White Knight does have the restriction of being unable to use the extra deck while it's on the field. But that literally doesn't matter in the case of the Drytrons, because they'll just tribute the White Knight and then go plus, and then you can Fossil Fusion, and then you can make Skolgios,
And then you can revive it.
Yeah, and then you can just summon it again, even if that goes south. That was my main setup with it. I think a lot of the issues that people ran into when trying to use the card well was that it requires more extra deck spaces. Like usually at Maximus you're running 3 cards max, maybe 4, but if you resolve Maximus twice in the same game, you probably already won. In the case of White Knight, you kind of had the expectation that this is going to be summoned the entire time and it's going to always be there. We dropped it for a bit. I remember a lot of discussion concerning sending Wind Pegasus and stuff like that. That's fine-ish. It was more so dealing with intices and stuff like that, where it just becomes a disruption because the opponent played the game, and that's not very cool to deal with. So yeah, I wanted this card banned on release. We kept it for a while, but again, it didn't really see any tournament play, at least to my knowledge.
I don't believe it did either.
Yeah. The main ritual variants we saw were things that were using Necros of Trishula and Shinobirds. And of course, Bithar, before Bithar got banned.
Yeah, especially since they can send Entis, you can send is Herald still legal in this format?
Yeah, Herald.
Yeah.
Ultimateness and Perfection? No,
No, Arclight.
Okay, yeah, Arclight. Yeah, Arclight's legal.
Yeah, you can send Arclight, you can get a bunch of searches. Yeah, definitely very one-sided. Pretty unhealthy. I personally don't like this card, so...
Yeah, every time this thing gets up, most of the consistent outs to things in the format are always going to be in the extra deck. Relying on the main deck to just draw an out is completely unbelievable, and I don't like that logic. But the fact that White Knight can just get rid of cards like Unicorn and Phoenix and stuff like that to just completely eliminate the possibility of removing the game state. If they see you have Exodus Knight in the extra deck, it's gone. And there's your out. It's gone.
Especially since if you try to out this with something like Dino Mischief, other trap cards that just are target and remove, this thing still gets to activate. So you're still plussing. Alright, next is System Down. I think this is pretty much unanimous. This card is stupid. It just destroys machine decks, everything that they stand for. It should definitely not be allowed in any means. This card, it's just if this existed for any other type, it would be stupid, and it's just as stupid as it is for machines. So yeah. I'm fine with this going, especially since I have been dabbling in machine decks. If my opponent activates this, I just lose.
Yeah, so this card's existence is mostly just a deterrent against the concept of a machine meta in general. But I don't think there was ever a time even when it would be realistically cited at what was it it's the 0.5 category of KO. When Orcus, when I first joined, there was the apex of Orcus ending and Rescue changes and all that stuff. I tried running System Down. It's literal garbage. I don't recommend running System Down unless it's unlimited or something, because it does auto win you the game. That's true, but so does Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. That's also a card that I wish was on here for a similar reason to System Down, because as well experienced before when we did unlimit Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, for the same reason, it just cards like this are active deterrents against the concept of these cards even being competitively viable, decks like this being competitively viable, because once people start recognizing that, you just run System Down, run Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, GG.
Yeah, especially since something like this doesn't really exist for other types. I know that there's a couple of Raigeki-ish cards for warriors and spellcasters and rocks, I believe, but nothing to this degree.
Yeah, banishing out the graveyard is so insane.
So I'm absolutely fine with this going. Next, Supernatural Danger Zone. This has already seen some play in the most recent Champs tournament that's currently going on. You'll probably see the finals of it being commentated over. And you might see me in the tops, but I can't guarantee anything. But yeah, this card has already... It's been stupid. It's been overperforming, especially since a lot of decks love to run normal monsters because they skim underneath the summon limit. the fact that it applies not only when you summon a non-effect monster, but when your opponent summons a non-effect monster is just it's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, this card definitely went under my radar. Like at first I thought it was just going to be like a tech that you threw in like Dark Magician Magikey, which was getting support that set as well. Swordsoul, definitely. But in the case of like when we actually saw it, of course, like normal Trinity fashion, like the second you give them an inch. Oh man. This card definitely overperformed when it was used by Wa. He ran 2 copies of this card in his Swordsoul build. Um, Basically every matchup that had a blue eyes, they auto lost, but he also was just able to trigger it every time he summoned a token with the Swordsoul cards. That's pretty obnoxious game states. And if you outed the Supernatural Danger Zone, you get a free blue eyes.
Yeah, so also fine with this going. It's pretty much a floodgate. Like I'd call it
Yeah,
a floodgate.
this card was absolutely crazy. I honestly wish it could exist in some capacity because the idea of it is cool, but it is really strong, and I
Yeah,
hate the fact it applies to both sides.
the amount of advantage you can get off the card is very big. All right,
Yeah.
next is Masquerade, the Blazing Dragon. I know
Oh
Despia has
boy.
been definitely overperforming. I believe it has gotten a top in like the last 2 YTCs, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this card is definitely probably one of those reasons. 600 life points to activate any card or effect really starts racking up when you're activating like 4 effects, because 4 effects that's 2,400 points of damage. That's pretty much a direct attack.
Yeah. So this card for me, I'm like on the fence with this card. Honestly, I'm fine with Masquerade. Masquerade's honestly one of the worst fusions for me personally. But it's more so the fact that once you are leading in tempo, Masquerade becomes such a problem that it's so difficult to deal with. Like you throw Despia on like a good stuff build, the good stuff part will just carry itself anyway, but you throw a Masquerade on top of that, you're dealing with having to out Masquerade on top of the good stuff engine, and if you don't, you're gonna have to deal with you're gonna have to deal with them on the clapback anyway. And if you do, you're probably gonna take like 4k damage just from burn, and then this guy can resummon himself if there's an extra deck monster. And if you use an extra deck monster to even deal with the Masquerade, and it's not Unicorn, you're screwed.
Especially since if you're trying to go into something like Unicorn, you're gonna have to activate multiple effects, so you're still gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to pay to out this, and then it comes back, and then you gotta pay more.
Yeah, like think if there was a world where there was a lot less layers that could just be applied to like specific setups, like you see a lot of Sparky decks, or like he had like Unchained Despia variants where the layers can be compounding on like you having to deal with the Soul of Rage in addition to Qua, and then you also have to deal with Aluber coming back with Theater on the field, being able to set up the fusion for Masquerade with just those 2 cards. It's like, eh, I don't know, but the main reason I did like Masquerade was that it's just a free Dingresu and all the decks I played, so it's fine.
All
I'm
right,
good to see it go though. I hope it comes
Despia
back.
is an interesting archetype. I've got thoughts about it, and most of them are that I don't think it's actually that good. But I definitely think Masquerade was a good hit regardless, because it's just a card that feels so bad when it closes out a game. It's like the same thing as Flare Metal Dragon if Flare Metal Dragon was 10 times better and more accessible.
all right. And on that note, we have a new speaker. Apparently, this is Erica.
Hi,
She has
Erica.
joined in place of Impy because Impy had to leave.
Yeah, it doesn't let me like do a proper request to speak because I own the server. I can only push myself in, and it's great.
It seems like Pancake wants to speak. I'll let him in. I'll see what he wants to say.
Boy.
All right, Pancake, you have been invited. If you want to say something, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, just wanted to, and just a kind of extra 5 cents I'm gonna drop in. Like, I used Masquerade against X69, like, like in the like I think it was the November YTC, but basically like it was like game 1 was really topsy-turvy, and then I was able to make Masquerade, and because he was like at 500 LP, he was basically locked out of interactions and I had games. So yeah, like pretty much like Masquerade really feels bad if you if you really are ahead, and yeah.
All right. I'm
That's
gonna
what
move you back to the
happened.
audience if you're fine with that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So next on our list of bands is going to be Magikey, Fiend, Transfurlmine.
That's a pronunciation.
Transfurlmine?
I don't
However you
know.
pronounce this card. All right. So I believe, is this a new card or is this an old
Yeah,
card?
this one
No,
dropped
it
in
came
wave
out,
2 of the Magikey support.
in the last wave of Magikey support.
All right. So I know that
Lucky
Magikey
that.
has been doing pretty good, just like as a deck, especially considering it focuses around normal monsters, and of course, normal monsters skim underneath the summon limit. I've never personally seen this card in play, but I'd like to hear what you two think about this card.
So I tested against Delta quite a bit before this cup, who is on Magikey and is now in Top Cut and champs with it. And it's interesting. It really does kind of feel like an unbeatable setup in Trinity at times, but it's also it's a little bit narrow. If the Magikey player picks the wrong attributes, they're doing almost nothing. But also they get to pick 3 attributes with the usual combo. So you get light, dark, and earth, and you pretty much cover most decks. The combo isn't 100% guaranteed to be found, and it does it is a little flimsy to hand traps. But overall, I think that the end board state is just so oppressive for Trinity that this was probably a good move, forcing them to use the level 8 ritual for disruption instead.
Yeah. So I really like I like a lot of the design philosophy of this card. It's really cool. I tried it a couple times with my Web Chalice builds. I just like searching the Magikey support, the spell traps, and think this is the only way to get them consistently. Which is unfortunate to see it banned, but say levy.
We can field spell search as any Magikey card, but usually you need it for the monsters.
It's the monsters, right? Yeah, it's a monster in activation. But,
okay.
In regards to just this card, like I believe the person that I tested the most against and with this card was 41. They set up this card against me when I was testing Marincess with some of the pre-skins we got, and having a Water in the Grave basically butchered any attempt I had at playing the game. I mean, that's fair. Also, the fact I believe that this card doesn't negate summons, it just straight up destroys them.
Yeah,
which is kind of a toxic interaction in Trinity because you don't get that summon back. It can be very oppressive when it's set up correctly. I can understand why it's gone, especially in the case where it sets up its own disruption and it sets up its own follow-up. Very snowbally. Honestly, wish we get a ST searcher in the future, but if we don't, oh.
All right. Next is Harpie's Featherstorm, and this is probably one of the ones which I can actually start saying something about. Harpie's Featherstorm is essentially as a thought for a turn. When you activate, your opponent can activate any monster effects from hand, field, graveyard, extra deck, anything for the entire turn, as long as you control a Wind Wing Beast. And if also you have a Harpie monster, you can just activate from your hand. This card, especially with Floowandereeze, which will be brought up later, definitely a very oppressive card. Just being able to lock your opponent out of a monster effect for an entire turn, just like even in Trinity format, where like just one turn isn't really as much as it is in TCG, it's still just it's too good. It's so sacky. It's very oppressive. No good, very bad card.
Yeah, this card's insane. It should have been banned earlier. I think it was only just not touched at all because nobody was using it, and the only deck that realistically could use it was like Harpies. Come on. But to defense of Harpies, like they can search it if they pop their hysteric sign, I guess. but just drawing it in a deck that auto wins you the game like Floowandereeze is just it's just over. There's no counterplay, there's no nothing.
Yeah, even being the resident Floowandereeze player, I'm fine with letting this go. It's just, it feels bad for me too when it just activates my opponent's like, oh, alright, GG's. Okay, next is Denko Sekka. I'm also kind of fine with letting this go. This also relates to the next card on the list, which is Thunder King Rai-Oh. They kind of serve the same thing. They're normal summonable floodgates.
Yeah. In the case of Denko, people often try to make the distinction that like it locks you out of setting cards too, but like when I've played a lot of Denko Sekka and teaches you like I don't care about that restriction at all. If I get to normal summon this monster and it says unless you solemn or negate my summon, you get no back row until you remove this card, I am always going to be able to play Denko Sekka. The main reason it's a turnoff for most people is because it's in the 1-point category and there's a lot of issues concerning the 1-point category, but I believe the best shell for it would just be searching it via like your it's the Thunder Dragon Fusion spell. I think it's aptly called Thunder Dragon Fusion.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think going out of your way to search it with like a Bro Hunter or something is worth it usually. That's why it's like big turn off, but like I don't think people have played against Denko Sekka enough to really understand the impact of the card, but I'm glad that it's just been like unanimously agreed that this card and like Thunder King Rai-Oh have to go.
Yeah, and what you said
before
also
they
applies
become
to
apparent.
Thunder King Rai-Oh, because Thunder King Rai-Oh is also a Thunder monster, so you can also search out the
Yeah.
Thunder King Fusion. And Thunder King
Yeah.
Rai-Oh just is unlimited.
Yeah, he also comes with the bottomless for some reason.
He comes with a bottomless, and he's a mistake. He's a mistake in two sense. A mistake as in the card, and a mistake as in this thing should have never been printed. Alright, next is
Yeah.
Tie
I've been
Strike.
thinking about Rai-Oh for like a year now, and it's amazing that like we finally
Yeah.
dealt with it.
Yeah. Alright, so Tie Strike has a lot to do with Ignister and a lot to do with Impy. I would love to have Impy on here because Impy would tell you all about how it's absolute BS that this card is being hit because his deck is rogue and his deck is terrible and garbage. But no, this card is... What can I say that hasn't already been said? Very, very stupid card, just being able to boost up your guy so high. Especially since you can just burn people and just burn them for game.
Yeah.
You know, as the second best Ignister player
Second.
in Trinity Format, I can probably say that banning Tie Strike is just a good move for the health of the archetype overall. Hopefully it can get to a state where it just like is a typical, somewhat fair mid-range deck with a little bit of an edge in you know the kind of sneaky effects its cards have. But Tie Strike basically gave a mid-range deck a burn win con, which is just really strong.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Tie Strike doesn't even force you to use it with Ignister monsters. It just protects your own monster from destruction if it's an Ignister. So you can actually use this as a kind of offensive magic cylinder. And I'm glad we never got to the point where anyone started doing that.
Agreed.
Yeah, that would be pretty stupid.
I think like Tie Strike, like once Erica started using this
More like a ring of destruction, actually.
a couple months ago, for I think it was like it's like locals or something. We just summoned Fire Phoenix and just used Tie Strike, and I'm just getting burned for like 4,600. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. My stance on Tie Strike is like, I was a big advocate for like Gatling Gold getting the axe, and I'm glad it did because that card's burning for like well over 5k per activation, and then popping a card, and then also being able to attack. Get out of here. Tie Strike, I think, is a lot in the same boat. It's like super archetypal, easy to access. Main issue with this card, it is so loopable, it's disgusting, and you can resolve it twice in the same game. You don't have to. We just actually had this happen during the event in question, but I don't want to talk about that too much. Even testing with like I believe Liquid Loan, they tested with Tie Strike, and they managed to burn me for 6k just casually. And I don't know their experience with Ignister, but I mean, if they can just build a draft deck and do that, anyone can do that. I am glad that this is gone.
Also on the same note of adding Ignister is Accesscode Talker. Now, this card is stupid in TCG, and in a deck that completely revolves around link summoning, this deck is stupid in Trinity. It closes out games even I'd say even better than it does in TCG. I would argue.
No, it's not better than
Well,
TCG.
well, it's still good.
You need to have monsters living across a turn to summon it in most stacks, or some stuff with tokens and Dandelion, which is its own entire issue. But access code is one of those things where anytime it can be made, it will be made, and it wins the game or removes enough cards to be devastating every time. If it doesn't outright win.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's all right that this went to banned, and it's going to it being banned is going to make it so we don't have to be so careful around link decks and like free link materials.
Yeah,
Dandelion is still its own issue.
the case of access code, like I don't really see it as an Ingestar problem. Like I think access code is just its own beast, but I think a lot of it is just the same card that it is in the TCG, except people in Trinity do tend to play like cards that get around the you cannot respond window. Does lead to some situations where access code really sucks to
Like
go
Ring of
into because
Destruction.
it is a like -5.
Access code who?
But yeah, I mean it's good to see cards that just win you the game on the spot go, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and this card has been used to justify like the hitting of other stuff so much. I remember when Tri-Brigade first came out, we realized, hey, this makes access code way
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that discussion.
And Tri-Brigade has its own other issues, and it's kind of a case where like as long as there are link fours, Tri-Brigade is a little much. But
Wait till you see Underworld God.
access code was a little much as well.
All right, so next is Unchained Soul of Rage. Or no, actually no, Abominable Unchained Soul. I did indeed skip one, but Abominable Unchained Soul.
It looks like actually we might be getting a recount on the Unchained and Plunder stuff.
Ooh, it has come to mention in the best point format. Let's do possible to make a decide blinding bolt, see if hits are deserved. All right, so I guess we just skip Unchained stuff.
I can say from the form earlier, Abominable Unchained Soul is almost definitely getting hit. It's just a matter of if Soul of Rage is. So if we still want to talk about it.
Yeah,
well,
since no twins are appearing on this ban list, honestly, I want them gone.
Yeah, I'll talk about Abominable Unchained Soul. I remember playing this a lot in like sealed environments, and it's just a card and a half. Just being able to get a free 3K body on board, as well as popping, as well as it having a floating, it's dumb card, good generic card. Even at one point,
it's like Danger Bigfoot for the new age, but 10 times better than Bigfoot ever was.
Especially since you can.
I'm just glad that we don't have to be so scared in Top Cut when someone sets one pass that if we attack into it, we just lose.
Don't forget the jars are legal.
You still do because Tin Dangle, but never mind that.
Especially since this thing is like just searchable as well. Atrocious card.
The other soul is definitely still threatening, but it can be dealt with after you attack over the thing.
Assuming you get
depending on how hard you committed. Abominable Unchained Soul punishes you whether you committed or not.
Well, it's usually post. Like it's like a more of a reaction punish than it is like a proactive punish. Like you're always playing into Soul of Rage, and then Abominable Unchained Soul is always playing against something that's already been established.
All right, so now we're going on to the new hits from the new set that we'll be releasing. Actually, the two new sets, Grand Creators and Battle of Chaos. Grand Creators already come out in TCG, but Grand Creators and Battle of Chaos are going to be coming both together simultaneously as being legal in Trinity Format for use. So we have some hits here that are supposed to solve some issues before anything even hits the ground. And we are starting off with Kaiba's favorite Blue Eyes White Dragon. And we
killed the vanilla.
Yeah, of course we killed the vanilla. But just like the deck of Blue Eyes White Dragon, and the first hit is Blue Eyes Jet Dragon.
So this card, pretty sure it protects literally everything Like while it's on the field?
Yes, other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects.
Yeah. So this card was extremely consistent. Like I've always been an advocate that like True Light is absolutely trash. Don't bother with that card. But like just playing Dragon Shrine guarantees you this card. Just send Blue Eyes, send a stone, summon Abyss, and then Abyss can just add Jet to hand. If they ever destroy your card, you get to summon this guy for free. Almost like Abominable Unchained Soul.
Wow, it's almost like things with the same application are getting banned for the same reason.
Blue
Yeah.
Eyes is a deck that I feel that we have to be extremely careful with, and people are a little scared of, because it's just playables all the way down. Like, you can fill a deck list with like 80 Blue Eyes cards, and none of them are bad.
You'll get some bricky
this is part of
hands.
why there's been like so much skittishness around True Light, and in the past, you know, we almost wanted to hit Blue Eyes for some other stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
It's the reason why a lot of the Chaos stuff is hit, because Blue Eyes can use it so effectively. And it's just, with Blue Eyes, you have to be really careful about kind of having that critical mass of playable cards that just makes the deck hard to deal with.
Like just
Right.
adding on to that, looking at Jet specifically, like if we had Jet for the last event, the last two events, and while I was able to access it, like him just resolving Dragon Shrine in his games when he was on Supernatural Buddy Force is just a free Jet in addition to the rest of his plays. So yeah, they're very splashable, very accessible.
Altogether, I actually think we did a good job with Blue Eyes this list, other than True Light, which really shouldn't still be pointed.
I think it's apparently unlimited according to Crusher,
Is it?
so
Is it?
I don't know. I don't play it anyway, so I don't care.
Well, next,
No, True Light's still pointed.
in terms of the Blue Eyes hits, is Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. I know this had a lot of discussion going on of people saying this card's bad. Well, not bad, but this card shouldn't be hit. And there's people that saying this card is OP. This should just be like instantaneously banned. I want to know what you guys think.
All right, so since I'm the main supporter of this card being legal, like even at unlimited, because I think this card's just fine at best, because we have other multi-attacker options, and Blue Eyes has better things to be doing. I think I'll go first, and you guys can add on to what I'm saying or just discount what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
So Tyrant in testing for me has always been like, well, it's coming out with Ultimate Fusion. Ultimate Fusion is the big bad spooky card that can access Tyrant a lot easier. But the issue with Tyrant is that it's a quick play fusion, so only very specific modes can search it. You got your True Light, you got your Party Plant Engine to get like Chimera Ecclesia, and then Chimera Ecclesia has to resolve. Keeper can't get it, even though Keeper's already, well, I play Keeper in my Blue Eyes builds. But yeah, it's like very limited access to Ultimate Fusion, so that whole connection's like really off the table and like super rare compared to some other setups you can do with like just a basic Luna Light combo, which ends the game on the spot. There's also the fact that Tyrant's way more consistent in a deck like Dragon Maids, but again, they have to be adding like Blue Eyes to hand or getting it. Well, no, they have to add it to hand specifically because Tiding's banned. So if they would have to play like the original Stone, and that's really bricky, honestly, with those spears or anything, because you kind of have to like link it off or something or discarding it, and that's not something that Dragon Maids are going to be doing. Ideally, they would just be using it just for the changeover play to make Tyrant, but I don't know. Isn't Furious still legal? I'm pretty sure Furious.
Furious
still legal,
is indeed still legal.
Is still legal,
Like
but it's
they
Dark
can just
Dragon,
make Furious
so
at
Blue
this
Eyes
point.
can't
Like
use it.
I think Tyrant is the least of the D-Maids like priority by far. Like they have Furious, they get Tridents, they don't care about a multi-attacker that's immune to traps.
So my thought on this card is Blue Eyes as a deck have always been somewhat gated from their own fusion monsters. They are difficult to make and not usually worth it when you can make them. But Tyrant is first of all more generic than the existing Blue Eyes fusions. It's Blue Eyes +1 dragon, and it comes down trap immune, which kind of circumvents the problem with making the Blue Eyes fusions, which is that they die to pretty much anything and are just big beat sticks. And so this combined kind of makes Tyrant Dragon a bit of a scary prospect for Blue Eyes to have access to.
Yeah, especially since it's not only an OTK tool, but also recycles traps for some reason.
Yeah, I don't really get the recycling. I guess it's so that you
The
can
dedicated
recycle
Blue Eyes
Ultimate
build
Creature
doesn't
of
run a ton
Destruction.
of traps, but that is kind of a powerful effect that it feels like it's ripe for abuse in a particular build that wants to recycle traps.
I imagine a build that Cena would probably pilot would run more traps, but like me specifically, like I'm way more inclined to like summon the specific synchros that just hard shut down a lot of decks, like Azure. I mean, not Azure, but Spirit just wins games by itself. Just making the XCs with like Nebula plays, like I don't know. I've always been like on the fence about the fusions because they don't really seem that useful in the age of one card plays for rank 8s and stuff. And there's no one card play for any of the fusions. Even by the alternate effect, I think you have to like equip the fusion monster to a Blue Eyes. I don't really know how you do that.
The other thing about having Tyrant banned is it means there's no one Blue Eyes target for Ultimate Fusion, which is kind of a good balancing point in itself because it makes it so Ultimate Fusion is dead far more often. And I know there was a
Except
lot
in
of
a Blue
concern
Eyes
over
deck.
Ultimate Fusion basically being treacherous trap hole. It still
Yeah.
is, but
I mean,
it's not as flexible.
kind of. Like Ultimate Fusion will only pop cards if the Blue Eyes were used on field. It still fuses like from the locations, but it will only pop cards if the Blue Eyes were from field.
All right, so
Well,
next up,
I misread that card and thought it was better than it actually was, and still thought it should be unlimited. So that's something.
Yeah, I think Tyrant got way too overhead. Like Furious is legal, Furious is better, and you can make Furious with the Odd-Eyes engine without even having to use a summon.
Yeah, dark matter is way stupider. Why would you use Blue Eyes? You have access to dark matter.
Oh god.
all right, so next up on our list are two hits for definitely the most pushed set of cards in recent Yu-Gi-Oh history. The Adventure token engine. And our hits of choice, as it seems, was Water Enchantress of the Temple to ban and Wandering Griffin Rider to ban. I can 100% see why these cards are banned. Griffin Rider, I believe, was just immediately banned by Impy, like with the base bans to work off of, and which I was completely fine with. That card's stupid. And then Water Enchantress being banned makes it so you can't just send this off Cherubini and then just get the whole line.
Absolutely.
And then in this case where you don't have Water Enchantress, you have to rely solely on Rite of Armaseer, which in that case is probably more fair because then you're gonna have to put Trinities into it. So I'm fine with these changes. The only thing I'm kind of on is like Draco back maybe. But what do you guys think?
I don't think Dracoback is really as scary as people make it out to be. It's an equip spell that bounces a card. And yes, you do get it if you have Rite of Armaseer. It's live on its own. But it's also not plus. You have to, I believe you have to discard for the continuous spell when you search it.
Yes, but that setup
So
specifically.
it's very good. It's a very good tool for clearing, but it's
Well,
one of those things where like I just don't see the problem. You can remove the token, and that kills the equip entirely.
so I will say,
There's just a lot of ways to get around it. It feels like.
okay, so a lot of people when play testing this card, like I have at least well over 8 hours of people just spamming this package against me, and it was really annoying. They've only been like turboing just the equipping to the token, as you said, but if you sequence the effects correctly, you should only be discarding the equip spell and then equipping directly to the token or magic core. It should
Right.
never be neg.
Because it can do that. One
Yeah, because if you summon, you add the equip, and then you can discard the equip for the Fateful Adventure, and then you minus 0.
Yeah, you should always be doing that. Especially since there's no reason to be sending it on your turn unless you're doing like follow combos with Metalfoes and stuff. That's another story. But
I had forgotten about that. That it
yeah.
the graveyard, which is a little goofy, but it's one of those things where I like it because it's a board breaking card, and it's a board breaking card that doesn't like immediately and instantaneously lead to an OTK. Like you've got something like I don't know, Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon that feels very frustrating because it breaks your board and then whacks you in the face for game. This
Mhm.
kind of breaks your board and then invites a back and forth, which I think is kind of a healthy play pattern for Trinity. It might come to this being used in OTK decks, but I think I kind of would prefer having that to the kind of turn one disruption meta we have. If people really want to use this to blind second, that's fine with me.
So to further like expand on what I guess this is like reaching into like what Dracovec and like the entire engine does, more so than just like Order and Tranches, and like I don't even want to press on Griffin Rider too much. That card deserves to die.
Mhm.
But just the engine as a whole, when it's used, because again, I didn't see that many people using it as they should. It was kind of just make the token Dracovec, bounce a card, pass. You should be using it ideally going second, or if you're going to set it up for going first, like with the Cherubini combo or Carabini combo, you're sending like the Enchantress to add Armesia. You should only be doing that next turn when you're able to attack, because once you have the Magicore on field, it will set up like your discharge. And when you do that setup, you will have a bounce plus a spell speed 2 pop of whatever attack it is. It's usually 2300 or less in the case of the Magicore setup, in addition to another bounce because they have to out your Magicore with -1 summon, and also by battle twice. That's why I was very against the engine, despite people not using it in that specific way.
Yeah, I think the adventure engine is definitely going to see a lot of play, but we're going to see how it all plays out. Hopefully,
Definitely gonna see play, but it's a kind of more of a matter of how it warps the format around it.
Mhm.
It is going to warp the format in some way, but it's a matter of if it's a healthy sort of warping, where it kind of breaks up the how do you say it? The kind of protect the castle turn one disruption meta we have.
Oh yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I'm kind of welcoming Brave Token to a degree.
Fair
Oh,
enough. Fair enough.
God.
All right. So next is DDD Divisor King Deus Machinex. As someone who has played DD, and obviously Erica has played a lot of DD, this card is kind of in the same category as something like F-Zero, where you kind of just like you can't really make this turn one, but it just does so much.
Oh, you absolutely can.
You can. Well, I mean, sometimes you can make. Because
Unique
my
unique
thought
one.
is
This is a card that you read the first time and think it's fine, and then you read the second time and realize it's going to be used every time it's available and feel awful for it. I'm really glad that we decided to ban this, because literally anytime DD can make it, or even a generic pendulum deck that is splashing DD can make it, they will make it, and it will probably win the game.
Yeah, as someone who like teched because teched the Kepler plus contract engine, just because I think Kepler contract are just Joker for any pendulum deck, and they really should be used that way. You can access like Leonidas and Kaiser, and both of them are able to go into Machina. So if you don't get your decay, just set up a negate in main phase 2.
all right. Next is Swordsoul Sinister Sovereign Qixing Longyuan. Swordsoul Synchro.
Yeah.
We have banned.
Swordsoul Synchro ban.
Yeah, exactly. Banned. We hate Swordsoul.
So this one's pretty specific to get out. Like its recipe isn't exactly the easiest. It's not your Baron de Fleur. But this card's obnoxious. It punishes any sort of gameplay. I think people just don't want to deal with it in general. That's why it's been banned.
Yeah,
I completely
I
understand
had
it.
pulled on me using a level 7 Tenny and a level 3 tuner. That was just like a little funky.
Yeah,
Oh,
especially since Longyuan makes this with one singular card, and this
Mhm.
this draws you whenever you sync or summon another worm. If your opponent activates a spell trap, you banish it, inflict 1200, and then if they activate a monster effect, you banish it. If you special summon a monster, you banish, inflict 1200.
But hey, at least it doesn't negate.
It
just
doesn't negate. It's fair.
doesn't negate. It can also be resummoned back by the in archetype reborn.
Stupid card. No, that should be a big no. All right, next is
Before we move on here,
where I'm going to be speaking a lot. Floowandereeze and Eglen. Obviously,
It's a good-
Floowandereeze was an issue that has been brought up before I made my return to the server, but I do have to say that definitely more emphasis was put onto the Floowandereeze archetype as a whole in Trinity once I returned. You know, not to toot my horn or anything, but definitely
Yeah.
Eglen is 100% one of the problems. I'm not going to say the
Yeah.
only problem, but I am going to say it's one of the problems. Being able to search Ryza, Simorg, Empen, it just, especially being searchable off of Rabina, this just enables the deck to be extremely consistent and turns less into Monarch, like birds, and more into I'm going to summon my Rabina, summon my Eglen, and then summon my Empen, and then just sit on it for the rest of the game. And definitely this card deserves to be banned.
It looks like we did have Erica swap out, and we are getting someone else. Is that Liquid Loan?
Hello, this is me, Liquid Loan. Hey, I just top in. I guess I was gonna offer a 2 cents on the Swordsoul, but I guess I'm just tagging in for a while.
All right, what are your 2 cents on the Swordsoul? Because
Okay, no, that's fair. 10 is just a really scary synchro option, and even though you have that worm non-tuner restriction, just imagining a Draco Berserker, especially with Hopier in hand. Hopier's become insanely searchable with the side sets that have come out with
Yeah, the Sherry support.
with the Sherry and the Noble Knights. You have 5 copies of Hopier in your deck, so if you have that in hand behind a Draco Berserker, you can easily tag into that. Then you add on the 4 copies of your Swordsoul Searchers. Now you have just an easily accessible double floodgate that also closes the damage gap, just like Masquerade the Blazing Dragon does.
yeah, definitely that and Swordsoul Synchro banned.
Swordsoul Synchro ban, no.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have anything to add on Eglen? Or
So I wanted this card banned on release because I know how ridiculous this card is. I don't have a problem with Rabina. I have only problems with this card.
I feel like this card is what really makes Rabina really good, because if you're searching Stry or Token, Token is only active if you already like set up your plays and just allows you to recur stuff, and Stry is just like it doesn't plus you, it just banishes something from your graveyard, which is important in some loops and also just disrupting your opponent. But Eglen is just wow, it's especially because it not only sets up the Empound on your first turn, but then also sets up the Ryza on your opponent's turn, and then on the following turn sets up the Simorg. And it's like yeah, definitely. Without this card, the deck becomes a lot stackier. The power level definitely goes down, because that means that you not only do you have to hard draw the M-Pen or find a way to like banish it and token it back, but then it also disables the Ryza play unless you draw into Ryza. So this definitely will lower the power level of the deck a lot. Next is
Right.
Guardian Chimera.
Oh my god, this is a real card.
This card is stupid. 3 it's just completely generic. You summon it when summoned by a spell card or effect. You draw cards equal to the number of cards used material from the hand, and then you destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of material cards used in the field, and you must use at least 1 from the field and hand. It also cannot be targeted by card effects while you have polymerization in the graveyard. It's just way too good. I mean, like, I'd be running polymerization in every single deck if this card was allowed.
Yeah, so Guardian Chimera, like, I like the concept of it because 3-map fusions have always been extremely neg. Like, historically, they should only be game enders and they should maybe nothing else. Because, like, if you're going for, like, a 3-map Rampage, you're doing it to clear more back row. If you're going for, like, Trinity, you're going for an OTK. If you're going for the Cubic Nova, or whatever it's called, you're going for an OTK. If you're going for the Fluffle Sabertooth, he's also a Reborn, and he's setting up a play with like a whale double pop setup, and he's also invincible, so you're setting up an OTK with that as well. And if you're going for like a multi-fusion on the fight for Tiger, I believe, you're going for multi-plop. Fight for Wolf, you're going for multi-kill, stuff like that. In case of Guardian Chimera, I honestly like a lot of its design. Like, hands down, I think it's one of the better 3-map fusions we've gotten in a while. I just believe that it is, as you said, people would just be dumping poly in every deck, and it would create a lot of like very obnoxious game states. Because when I was testing this card, like just running the hero engine, like throwing in a Foolish Burial on a Shadow Mist, or just for your normal summon Blazeman, which can be searched with the Durandal package, which is courtesy of Noble Knights, which have all their searchers. You can just normal summon a Blazeman, add a poly, you have a Guardian Chimera legal summon right there.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
definitely see like just a Chimera turbo deck just like becoming really good, especially since with the targeting protection, it becomes hard to out as well because
Yeah.
you won't be able to out this with Cerberus, can't out with Unicorn, can't out with Dino Mist.
You can add it with Ghost of a Grudge. That's what's
You
awesome.
can.
no.
Oh my God, Ghost of a Grudge.
And on top of that, you just have the advantage replacement it does. Not only does it in-house, it replaces the advantage lost on the fusion summon, but then you tack that on to other archetypes that also help recur their own advantage, like Shadal's. You could splash it in BA. You have Fluff, Ruffle, Frightfurs. Just
Yeah.
and even heroes. If you get a Shadow Mist off it, great. You just keep going, and it's all that wrapped into one summon is just gonna make turn 1 and turn 2 extremely volatile.
Also, it's a
Yeah.
3,300 attack and defense for some reason, so those things also like huge.
Yeah, that stat line comes up a lot actually. Like anything over like 2,500 and 3K is just really obnoxious. I think the one build that I saw the most success with Guardian Chimera was I believe Despia. It was a Despia doll variant for the
Oh
above
my
regions. But also there are several ways to just keep looping Guardian Chimera. So as long as you have Poly in the grave, you can't deal with this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with just letting this go and not even just caring about it.
Yeah.
Next, we're on to 1 points now. First 1 point, Lost Wind. I think we can all unanimously agree that this card, it wins games. It just, you set this, it win game.
Mm-hmm.
Really not more to it. Historically a very good card in TCG, and historically a very good card in Trinity, even at the half-point slot. There's times where you really want to go into 5 cards just so you get access to something like Lost Wind, just because of how good it is.
And another half point or two at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah, Lost One's easily one of the best. Well, was one of the best like co-written cards. I think that it is coming to a lot of like veterans' dismay because Lost One's like auto staple in a lot of decks, and it's for obvious reasons because seeing it does just win you the game. I honestly do prefer this at 1 point because it's way too free at half point. Like every single deck I build, if it's starting at 45, I'm always taking Lost Wind. The card's way too insane.
This is also kind of similar to Titanocider, but it's better than Titanocider.
Agree, yeah.
This is-
Titanicidal is a lot more specific. It's gonna flop against some decks. It's slower to recur. And if you mill it, it's even slower to recur.
Yeah.
Next is Metalfoes Combination.
Oh, boy.
I
Someone's
personally advocate for this to stay banned. I'm gonna be honest. Pendulum is just kind of a for me. I'm not really a big fan of Pendulum. I 100% understand why this card was banned. Coming back to 1 point, I'm not sure really. I want to see what you two think.
So I'm like really big on Pendulum. Like they're one of my favorite decks, and I theorycraft them like basically every ban list, and I share my thoughts and woes with Folo all the time and bully him with it. But in the case of Metalfoes, like because of a lot of the systems of Trinity, they are basically the standout, always going to be viable pinned variant, and there is no reason you should not be playing Metalfoes, because if you're going for like anything else, like a Fist Act or something, you're always playing into the summon limit, and you have to go through like specific setups, and all the setups aren't super consistent. If you're going for something like your Odd-Eyes builds, they're way too bricky, but they also run into a similar issue, except for specifically with Arc. If you're going with like anything like Dynamis, like it's the same issue. If you're going for Metalfoes, there are so many normal monsters. Almost all of them have the same scale effect, so your setups are very consistent, and they have a lot of like floating synergies, which is very very useful for like your Peace Orcs, your I guess pin mages in general. A lot of like the Pepe techs, all of those work with Metalfoes as well. And then specifically what got combination banned was Folo's build, which is like very good stuffy. Like he had He had Sky Striker in there. He had the Magistus engine in there, which synergized with Metalfoes. Like, I think because of setups like being able to make a Ishizuku with like searching like your Widow Anchor in addition to like a Borrelid Savage in like the same deck is kind of insane. I didn't really like it at that time. We have a lot of the same cards legal now, except for Artemis, which hurts the Magistus part of it, but it is virtually the same as it was back then. I do believe that Pinned is in a really rough spot right now, though, but I don't think that's the fault of like the current hits. I think it's more so like the direction that the meta has been going. Honestly, I'm fine with combination coming back. I just hope that we hit more good stuff things because there's no reason not to play good stuff things with it.
Right, yeah. I'm curious to see what's going to have to sub out for combination, but it's kind of a no-brainer that it deserves that 1 point slot in your deck if you're playing Pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next is Trickstar Light Stage. I know a very star deck was Trickstar Despia, just being able to burn you a lot, and also just being very consistent with Trickstar Light Stage. Definitely 1 point I feel like is kind of a good spot for it, because then you don't be able to get both the Light Stage and the Terraforming with just 5 cards. You'd have to go an extra 5 card deep to get the Terraforming if you want to get more searchability into the Light Stage. So I feel like at 1 point it becomes fine, but I would like to see what you two think.
Liquid, you can go.
Yeah, so I know that it's front and center because of the Despia Trickstar list, and I think if you look at both of them in a vacuum, Despia has its problems, but on its own, Trickstar isn't the scariest thing in the world. It's just a low commitment snowball engine that you can combine with other good stuff, but I think the 1 point hit is not as drastic to people who want to play Trickstars on their own or fuse it with a not really pointed deck type. But I think this pretty much kills its ability to be placed within Despia alongside another hit that's, I think, next, the way to tutor out your Albaz and Swordsoul, Iris Swordsoul. But, you know, it does also kill the terraforming option. But I think that perfect 0.5 array that Despia Trickstar was able to use this past format was definitely a bit sussy.
Yeah, to add on to that, Light Stage originally was 1 point because Trickstar's really insane. It's basically when like Trinity was way slower and it wasn't like you lost the game on the spot during like the first couple of turns your hand was bad. Trickstar definitely did outshine a lot of decks. Was hit as a result, similar to like Spiral back then. Spiral kind of teetered on the edge and did receive its unhit and didn't go back up. This is also similar to what we saw with Lost World, but Lost World thankfully got hit again. I hope it gets banned, but that's another point. Light Stage, it does a lot by itself, but just accessing Candina, like if you're familiar with like TCG, Candina is so good.
Yes.
Just because of like just the loops just from Candina, Lycoris, and Lilyville just by themselves. If you run like Fest, you can run Festival if you want. If you run Kurbane, you can run her if you want. If you run like the Bouquet, you can run that if you want. But you don't need any of those cards. As long as you keep Candina in your hand, you should not be losing your Trickstar engine, and it's really insane.
Right.
The fact that Light Stage also gets to threaten a back row every single time in a format full of one-ofs is also crazy. Like all the field spell searchers. Think notably when Trickstars were featured, you were playing like your terraformings and stuff like that. But ignoring all the unlimited ones, people would be on things like Murmur of the Forest to reset it so that you could like get another search with the Light Stage, and usually you would play 2 Candina for this reason. It just makes really oppressive game states even when the Trickstar monsters are removed from the picture.
Right.
Yeah, just like the every single turn, just like I could say that back row, if you don't activate right now, it's gone.
Yeah.
And the next turn, if you want to put another one down, sorry.
Yeah, like you have to play into it.
Next, as was said by Liquid, Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous.
Oh god.
What a crazy card.
Oh my god, this thing is, oh my god, it just
Even if it had just that middle effect that it's known for, the quick effect tribute, it would still be worth hitting to 1. Then you give it
recursion.
two extra pairs of legs with recursion and a free special. But the real reason of this, I think, even if you hit the decks around it, this is a really, really powerful card that deserves to be at 1 point because of its easily tagging into specifically Fallen of Albaz and the Iris Swordsoul.
Yeah, additionally, this could also tag into Moye and like Swordsoul Worm decks.
Yeah, Swordsoul aside, I think it does the least amount of weightlifting in Swordsoul compared to other Albaz adjacent decks. But yeah, no, it gives Swordsoul some legs. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if it's left at 0.5, decks could easily just, if they're looking for an extra Trinity, they can grab Incredible Ecclesia, grab a half point, slap in Albaz, slap an Iris Swordsoul, and they're jamming.
Yeah, especially since Albaz has that really strong super polymerization effect, and then also leads into monsters, which then if they're like outed, they lead into more monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it becomes a quick effect super poly.
Mm-hmm. So I was against this card being 0.5. This card has been insane for me in testing, and ever since it was 0.5, I've always run it with Lost One because thanks 0.5 category. But this card, I play it in every deck. It is absolutely insane. If you run this card specifically in builds that are with fairies and now spellcasters, because we're getting the new Dark Magician fusion, which helps. And machines also do it. Fiends can do it. And all of this is because of the High Spirits branded card.
Right.
If you run that with Ecclesia specifically, you're able to summon out your Albaz during the opponent's turn and perform usually 3 fusion summons. Hopefully just 1, but usually 3 fusion summons. Additionally, you also get Ecclesia to hand, so you're able to get out Iris. It gets snowballing really fast, and it's very obnoxious. I don't really like the fact that this card is still legal, but I do play a lot of fusion decks, so I am able to recur it all the time. Like, this card can help make Omega, which is really crazy. This card can help make like your just link plays in general. Like this card makes Hulk at 5x, which is absolutely insane.
This card makes Hulk. This card makes Hulk.
Yeah, it's a
tuner.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it makes rank 4s. Like this card is supreme utility, and it represents pressure.
And it's astonishingly like synergistic.
Yeah.
It has synergy with the Charmer package. You can summon it off of Unpossessed. We saw Woodtrain use that in his Swordsoul deck, even beyond Swordsoul synergy. You can get it off Sonic Stun.
Yeah.
It's a light spellcaster. It's got equal stats. You just go on and on. The synergies are just incredible. Ecclesia.
Yeah, definitely. If this keeps seeing play coming next format, I would suspect this getting banned.
We'll see. I think it's going to see play at 1 point. It will see play.
Yeah, especially just like it's probably one of the best like just engines of like just like 5 cards you can just chuck in your deck and just have like that additional section of your deck that's just strong on its very own. Like I think like historically of these different engines that we've had in Trinity, this is probably one of the best. Especially since Iris Swordsoul. Iris Swordsoul alone is just a really good hand trap, and the fact that you can just like summon it from deck.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like when they're going for like a summon 2, and you just tag out into Iris, they're just like, oh, well, there goes my extra deck play.
And Iris isn't even dead in your hand.
Yeah.
All right, so next is Whitebeard, the Plunder Patrol Helm.
No, it's not.
Oh yeah, because the Plunder Patrol stuff are getting.
Yeah.
It's rethought of. This whole ban list has been like a mess.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, next would be Illusion of Chaos. Then I've done 0 testing with this card, but I know UVs have done a lot of testing with this, so I'd like to say what you want to say.
I've done some testing too, but I think Vice is the #1 person
to
talk about this one.
I absolutely despise everyone who did this, but this card. Originally, I got my first build from Grim when I came back to the format to just test, and I was like, "Give me a deck to play," and he's like, "Sure," and he just hands me Dark Magician. I'm like, "Okay, okay." So I started out, it's like a couple months back, I think 2 months back, testing this card and the Magikey, which I think is superior to Illusion Chaos, but that's not a story.
So good.
This card is really good after you set up Rod, and only after Rod loops itself. Otherwise, it's just worse Rod, and that's fine. A lot of people were concerned with the idea of smashing it with souls, but this isn't the TCG, so we don't really get that many payoffs for souls. Like a lot of our spell traps are really good spell traps and high value spell traps that we don't want to discard. And if we're discarding them for souls, these better be good random draws. Additionally, souls will always take a summon in this case, and you're playing a package for, like, if you're on like Manji Senju, the second you already resolve your sword combo, those are dead. Like, if you resolve, like, if you're just on the preparation of rites, just so that you don't break the soul as much, like maybe you're adding it back for like discard fodder for like a phoenix or a unicorn, it's like not as bad. But even then, like, what are you converting the souls into? Only Karibo? That's fine. You spent your turn cycling 2 cards. I can just do a liquid soldier play and cycle 4. There's also the fact that you can just foolish burial like Shadal Wendy and send like a beast, and you'll be cycling 2 cards additionally as well. I think people really overvalue what Souls does. I know MP did a lot in testing against this card. When Crasher was testing with the Spiral Dark Magician, you can definitely just deal with the payoffs of this card because, again, Souls will always play into the summon limit. So anything that they're doing after the Soul setup, like if it's a Master Plan pay, just hit the Master Plan. If it's like a... and they also can't do anything after the Master Plan play anyway, besides like... No, they can't even go double Helix either. I don't know, honestly. I think this card was really overhyped.
Yeah.
But even in just like Dark Magicians itself, like this card's really good. Like it saved me a couple times in Dark Magician, but Dark Magician's really bricky. It's not nearly as good as like just playing Witchcrafter in general, but I think this card's fine, even at Unlimited. Like, you can take it down to 0.5, so I get a freebie from the Co-Forbidden pair. That's completely fine with me, too, but I didn't think it deserves 1 point.
All right. Yeah. So finally, in terms of stuff that we have knowledge of it is going to be hit, is our half-point cards. First, starting off with Sauge de Fleur.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This card really snuck up on me. You know, it's easy to just write it off on a glance because, you know, you're giving up your 1 card, and what does it do? Unless you're playing plants, what does it do? What it does is it's spot removal. It's a humongous body, and if you are playing plants, it will threaten if you remove it, it threatens the entire snowball and engine and game plan of plants. Yeah. So generically, this is really, really good on its own, and for plant decks can take it to a whole new level.
Yeah, especially since this thing can also trigger the effects of like Yangzings, which didn't really come up, but this can also trigger Unchained because it pops 1 card on both sides of the field.
Something else I used it for in this set was also using it to trigger the babies in Dinos. I used it for that as well. It's a very cool card, very strong card,
very broken card.
I don't think it's too broken, but I think it needs to earn its tax. In a sense, I think there's going to be a lot of really cool decision making in terms of deck building when people can consider this as an option. And honestly, it literally might see more play because having it on that ban list front and center might make it more well known.
I just get my freebie half point.
Yeah,
there you go. Everyone sub your Lost Winds.
Well, thankfully, Lost Wind is 1 point now, so...
Exactly. Just take your deck list, right-click Lost Wind, left-click Sauge de Fleur. Easy.
Alright, next is Altergeist Meluseek. Was Altergeist even, like, played?
Yeah, so... I believe
not so much in tournament, but around testing and locals, it was more used. I remember day 1 when this was brought back to Unlimited. I think literally last list. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm going to test it. I'm going to deck build, and I'm going to prove that this should be on 0.5.
I didn't get to play.
Yeah, no, it's seriously. If you can run multiple copies in this, Altergeist becomes so suffocating. And even generically, Meluseek, if you can slap it in any deck that has synergies, it's sort of like that Sauge de Fleur. It's a 1-card problem solver. that has its own engine that you can choose to include or not include.
Yeah, especially when you can just out something with the battle phase. And if you're on more than that, you can set up a revival for it in archetype, all from the same card. Or you can set up a disruption play, quote unquote disruption play, with like Faker. But that also just goes into like loops with also, I don't know, there's all sorts of lines you can do with multiple Meluseek. I'm glad that this card got hit. I don't know why we unhit it. I think it was just a case of the Lost World, where people just didn't see it played, so they thought it was fine.
People forgot.
Yeah. I'm glad to see it back on the 0.5 list.
Yeah, you hearing about talking about dinos has kind of on me like dabble into dinos. So after this is over, you're gonna help me out with those dinos, right?
Sure, why not?
All right. Next is Witchcrafter Golem Aruru.
Sayonara.
And it's not even that much of a goodbye, but now it's like you got to pay the toll.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card is just like, let me read this card because I haven't seen this thing in forever. But I know that this card has been historically very strong. Ever since Witchcrafter has just been played, it's just like you slap it into spellcasters, and then it's just like a free body.
Yep.
Or you're like what, and you just throw it in a deck that only has the spellcasters as Dogmatika monsters. Everything else is anything else, and you still play Aruru because it's just that good.
It's threatening in all three scenarios that you could play it. One, if you search it, it becomes a known hazard that you have to play around, but it's not mandatory. You could wait for them to step in it, and you could just hold it for later.
Yeah.
It can be completely unknown and just be a surprise. Your whole day is ruined. Especially after Summon 3. There's just, you're going to lose everything, and it can win the game.
And it stays
and simply the fact that it is shown to the opponent ever in the match will change how they play.
Yeah. And the second you're going like a spellcaster tribal deck, like there's always the threat of Aruru, and you like have to respect it. Like Aruru has single-handedly won me a game, and I forget if it's who, but I think it's someone that's listening right now or is in this call. I don't remember if it was you, Liquid, but it might have been DG. But
I could have said that. Aruru has single-handedly lost me a game, and it might have been you.
Yeah, like I was able to just pass on Magician's Rod and nothing else just because I kept having Aruru in hand.
Right,
Couldn't attack or anything.
Yeah, you can't attack, you can't swing, and then later in the match, it's just a second guess sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no reactive hand trap that punishes you quite as hard.
Better have Gravedigger's Trap Hole, I guess.
Better
Mind Drain coming to a side deck near you.
All right, so finally, as the last hit that we know that isn't runoffs or the Unchained and Plunder Patrol stuff being, I guess, revoted for. We can go over the runoffs if you guys would like, but our final known hit is our last half point being A.I.dle Reborn.
Is this A.I.dle Reborn?
I think
it should be, right?
Yeah,
it's the quick play Reborn.
Yeah, it is. It is A.I.dle Reborn.
Honestly, this is one of the ones that I'm kind of iffy on. I don't know if this was necessary yet. I know everyone's really scared of Adignisters because Impy swept the YTC with it, but I think Tie Strike was the clear unhealthy card. I'm not so sure that A.I.dle Reborn was necessary. I know it definitely hampers Adignister in the fact that they get multiples of this, or they used to. You could run 2 and it was a worthy Trinity point to consider because of just how easily you can fetch, spells traps with Hiyari or Pitari on your turn, on your opponent's turn, everything. But they do have that other option in Fighting Spirit, which is functionally the same, but it's not a quick play. So they have no shortage of things to search. So
on top of running 3 Buddy Force.
Oh yes, and Call of the Haunt. There's no shortage of revival stuff for Adignister. So half of me thinks, was this necessary? And half of me also thinks, is this going to do anything?
Yeah, I don't think it really does anything. Like I think it was an overhit just out of like spite.
We hate Impy. We hate Impy.
What it kind of does is it throws a wrench in, because I don't believe that Adignisters have any reason to run half-pointed stuff unless someone feels it, but because a lot of your Trinity points are going to doubling your Picari and your Achichis to help with consistency. But now they have that half point jammed in there. Might mess with deck building.
Yeah, but you also have to consider that now, because it's the half point, if you run it, because it's archetypal, you also get to run a half point card.
You do get a half point card.
Yeah, and in the case of Adagnister, I'd probably lean towards like IP Masquerade, because then you can like set up your revival and then tag out into something on their turn.
Right, especially the also so scary Pyro Phoenix, which can shut you out of actions if you're under a certain life points.
Mm-hmm.
But Tie Strike was absolutely a healthy hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to further like go on the A.I.dle Reborn, like I also don't think it's necessary, because there are other examples of this. Like I know Ecclesia does this. She searches her own revival. There's also the Roach Dragon support that does the same thing with Muscle Ridge Shoot, does the same thing. I think it's just excessive.
A little bit. I don't think it accomplishes enough, and I don't think it was necessary at all. But we'll see how it works.
All right, so do you guys want to go over the runoff votes and just like talk about them, like, because we currently don't know if they're going to be like hit or they're just going to stay as they are, but would you guys like to go over it and just say like why these cards may deserve to be hit or not hit?
I wouldn't mind, because we have people listening, and I hope they
Exactly.
listen.
Let's get it on record.
All right, so first up on the cards need of runoff voting, S-Force Retroactive. I know this card is good because you can just throw it in and you can make Justify, and Justify is good.
But are you
Justify
justified
is
in
good.
making Justify? That is the question.
At the end of the day, if your whole turn falls to a smashing ground, well, fissure. You can't smashing ground a link monster.
There's also the case of Justify specifically stating 3 effect, so you can't like normal spam it out. And if you do the retroactive play, it requires searching it in the first place, and also giving up your entire board for Justify, which is something that you have to justify.
Exactly.
In every testing scenario I've been in, I remember Large Lad Big Boy also doing it, and I believe MP also tried it as well. We never used it because there's so many more better things to be doing. It's just really rare to find yourself giving up everything for Justify.
Whatever happened to Dinorphia Domain? Did that ever end up getting hit, or?
I believe it
no.
is fine. Dinomorphia Domain made it out alive.
I guess so. Well, next up is Dinorphia Brute to banned or unlimited. I mean,
so I tested a lot of Dinorphia. I think honestly the entire archetype's just fine to be unlimited on release.
Mm-hmm.
The
just doesn't
scariest
quite
thing,
do enough.
yeah, the scariest thing that scared a lot of people was the fact that Domain just fusion summons from deck. And yeah, that's a scary effect, but Dinorphia is lacking a lot of what will make that very good. And I think that's only coming on the next wave, so what we have right now isn't really that good, and I hope we don't get another Spriggan scenario where we're just hitting things because of future support.
Yeah, that's why we've gone a little tame on the Albaz stuff, even though the structure deck is looming.
Yeah.
My issue with Dinorphia personally is that it's such a small part of your deck, and a lot of the cards are reliant on having your Dinorphia stuff in rotation.
Oh yeah, they brick like crazy.
Oh my god, yeah, if you draw Brute, nothing. You do nothing unless you have a Dinomorphia in play or in your graveyard. And the ways to speed those up to access it is the Dino package, which is small in itself, but Lost Wind's also a point. You're sacrificing more, and you have to keep thickening your deck to try and, ironically, to make it more consistent.
Yeah, and a lot of the testing games I did with this, I don't know if Big Boy was also running into the same issue, but like anytime you can set up a Dinorphia play and you're opening Overraptor, just make an Evil Zord. They're so much stronger.
Yeah, exactly,
like,
yeah.
Especially if you have Lost Wind up as well, like your opponent can't interact, and if you're just tagging out, like if you don't have a follow-up after the domain, you're just passing on something that took half your life points and a 0-attack monster, and it feels really bad.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, too, if everything goes right for Dinomorphia, you draw what you need, you can set up your back row. So what? Is it that oppressive if everything goes right? And I don't think so.
Yeah, the only thing I can see just like potentially being an issue of Dinomorphia is not really due to Dinomorphia, but more due to like dinos being like secretly really, really good.
Oh yeah, they're really good.
And the Dinomorphias are, unsurprisingly, dinosaur monsters, so
Hmm.
these are extremely searchable. So this may just be something to throw in dinos.
Yeah, I think they've got a role to play in dinos, and they've been overlooked. I think they could probably make some waves in the upcoming season.
All right, next up is Plunder Patrol Shipyard to half point or 1 point. I know
the eternal question.
I know Plunder Patrol, historically not the greatest in the TCG. However, this deck is very good in Trinity, and I've seen a lot of tops just being very consistent, and its boss monsters just as well as being extremely powerful. I have not personally gone against too much Plunder Patrol though, so
You're
I'd like to
lucky.
see what.
Yeah, it does feel nice.
Also,
I'll
we
just-
can throw Whitebeard in here as well.
Yeah, I guess gonna throw a Whitebeard in here, just like Plunder Patrol in general.
I mean, Plunder Patrol, once they get moving, it is sometimes impossible to recover. If you can recover, there's the looming threat of more of them. And beyond that, again, you have whatever the hell else is in their deck, because there's room for more stuff. Be it good stuff, be it Unchained, you could throw in Despia, and there's probably more stuff that is waiting to be theory crafted.
Yeah.
And it's just been around forever, too.
Yeah, especially when Plunder gets the Windship Copium, it will be a lot better as well. But that won't be for ages.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I despise this deck. Like this, like once Erica showed me this deck, it was like I think it was either a year ago or a couple years ago. Like I was like, just keep this under wraps, please. This could be really insane. And then once they got I think Raven Eyes or Raven Wing or whatever, Black Eyes. As
yeah,
he's
Black
called
Eyes.
now, that deck came a lot more to light. People realized, wait, there's just Banished Trident in this deck. Wait, it's also Ding. Wait, they also have a Banished background.
Yeah, and the Banished
Also, they
Trident
have a
also
monster.
searches, by the way.
I think a lot of the setups are very streamlined as well. Like people put way too much emphasis on Whitebeard when they don't have to. Red's really good too. There's also the fact that even in the event of a grind game, you can just use booty and keep the engine going.
Yeah.
All of your monsters have to be banished for the engine to die. Otherwise, it will go on endlessly.
Right. And previously before this vote, it was just Shipyard a half point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it slots in perfectly with terraforming, or you don't even need to run terraforming sometimes.
Yeah. I do think though, like targeting White and Shipyard specifically aren't going to do much, because this is an extra deck archetype where you can use Golden Hair plus anything to make Blackbeard, and then you can use Blackbeard plus actually Blackbeard plus itself, just passing on that and turning that into like Lease or something if you set up like an emblem play. I'm going a lot more into specific lines, but specifically you're able to consistently end on a negate or disruption regardless of the taxes on the deck. And I think that the hit should have been more directed towards the extra deck monsters specifically, because they are the issues.
Yeah, I think one thing of contention is probably Mowork. I feel like Mowork is probably one of the strongest out of all the ships.
Yeah, Lease is also pretty good. Specifically, if you go for the Blackbeard Lease setup, you can Lease Blackbeard, and then Lease Blackbeard back again, and then set up another draw in addition to tagging out again. And if you set Booty, you can actually just keep looping these over and over, because you hard made one of the monsters. And I always tell people that are getting into Plunder for the first time to always hard make Blackbeard so that you can legally summon it anytime you can, because the draw effect from it is really strong.
Right, and it's all this stuff just stacked on top of each other, that even if you do, murk the consistency of Plunder, it's still gonna have a co-engine or a splash that can help it recover from that consistency.
All right, finally on the need of runoff voting is all the Floowandereeze stuff that isn't in specifically Eglen. It is Floowandereeze M-Pen to half point or unlimited, and then Floowandereeze and the Magnificent map from banned or unlimited. I think that Floowandereeze without Eglen can probably have both of these cards back at unlimited without too much issue. the power level of the deck goes down a little bit, but it just becomes more of how do I get M-Pen and how do I sit on M-Pen, because M-Pen is just a card and a half, as a lot of people might be aware. This has pretty much won me a lot of games in testing, just with Floowandereeze, and especially since Floowandereeze are also additionally getting the new spell card, Floowandereeze, in the advent of Adventure, which can not only search the field spell, but just also searches any Floowandereeze monster.
And helps them dodge removal.
And also helps them dodge removal as well. But I still feel that the deck could probably get these back without too much issue.
So when I did my little roulettes with Floowandereeze, I think I did two locals consecutively, and then all the other testing was just testing with different things hit. I always tested with things banned because having everything at once this is literally a direct import from its TCG playstyle. There are no differences. But,
Right.
In regards to like having map around, I always compare Floowandereeze to Monarch. When I did take Monarch to a YCC, like I did 3-2. I thought I did pretty fine with them. But what Floowandereeze provides, like all of the vassals search, like well, in the case of no Eglen, assuming Eglen is banned.
Well, Eglen is banned.
Eglen is confirmed.
Oh yeah, it's
Confirmed banned. Sadly,
but all the vassals on release were able to just straight up convert you into a monarch, which was insane, and people were very overlooking that, and I don't know why. There was also the fact that people were talking about its consistency, and then again, I go back to monarchs. They aren't that consistent. Like, I feel like we were taking a lot of what it does for granted, and I feel like we still also haven't seen the strongest variant of it, and I'm glad we didn't while Eglen was still legal. Additionally, I feel like once just ignoring where Impin stands, I'm going to assume that Impin's always going to be legal for the foreseeable future until we hit it, because it's a floodgate. And additionally, map is the main point of contention for me, because map and town both are your main way of differentiating yourself from Monarch outside of their escalation, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like, they don't become an FTK deck, but they will still be very much sacky if you give them back map, because map is doubled as a consistency tool. Like, you don't need half the searchers anymore if you have map in your hand.
Yeah, with map you can banish the M-Pen and then use token recur, and then that's essentially Eglen.
Map Rabina becomes the same thing that we've had because of Toucan can add back your M-Pen.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that, like, while people do devalue like the on summon response thing, like, you do have to consider what you're going into after. Like, as a Monarch player, for me, like, I'm always searching my Monarchs first and then I'm converting into the Vassal. If that approach was taken to like the Saki Flunder variant where we're getting rid of Eglen, you're just searching first and then you're setting up your Ryza. Like, that's completely fine. I can do that in Monarchs. If you're searching first and then you're setting up like your, thank God Apex is banned, you're like some more, that can also be set up as well. Like, I feel like a lot of the things to get rid of the consistency issues haven't really been done. So I'm not a fan of seeing map come back. I don't really care about M-Pen until it gets hit.
And this is even without the splashability possibilities. You have two nearby engines of Harpie and Lyralust that have nice little synergies with it that people can just experiment with and do stuff with, but map might be a little much.
Yeah, map's crazy.
Well,
map is going to increase the amount of just sack potential.
As the resident Floowandereeze player, I'm gonna say this card should be back because I want my deck to be good. So
because you want it, yeah.
This is completely biased. No logical thought process put into it.
As the resident Shaddoll player, next ban list, give us back Shaddoll Fusion.
Dude.
And Wenda as well.
Oh no! I swear to God, I remember when Winda was legal, and every single time I went to look into games, I was playing against some fucking Shaddoll player, and they're just like, yes, make Winda. GG's! Isn't that a fun game?
No, it's fine. She only has 2,200 attack.
Yo, bro, she only has 2,200 attack power. It's not that she blocked you out of every single fucking summon for the entire turn. Oh my God.
You can beat her.
Oh my God. Winda got me heated. But
No,
on another discussion.
There is something to bear in mind that there's only two options here. It's M-Pen at half and Town at banned, which is what it is right now, or alternatively, both of them come back to unlimited. So
If you're watching this or you're listening to this, please vote for Pro Floowandereeze. You gotta join the you
Oh,
gotta
do
join the
not,
nation.
please. This is awful advice.
Okay, here's
Do
the thing.
not.
Here's the thing: is that if you have Floowandereeze be illegal, then the deck breakdown I made, whenever this deck will top again, it will get more views. So you gotta think with a good mindset. But besides
listen to your
that,
heart, everybody.
let's just do another discussion talk about while we're all here and everyone's listening. What do we think are going to be the best decks coming into this new format?
Well, I guess we can start with, because that's a tricky answer. How about good new decks?
Well, yeah,
I could jump in with that. I think on the top of my head, Brave Noble Knight, or Adventurer Noble Knight now. But I think it's got really nice synergies with the... what Noble Knight has good synergy with the Adventurer package, with Draco back, with the other setup. I think are we still waiting to find out the results for runoff, or is it all set in stone?
Nope, that is all set in stone.
Yeah, so they get Draco back, they get Thunder Crash, and just a lot of good synergies. You know, they'll spend their half points on whatever they need to. You've got Roland to search Draco back. I think the token's a fairy, but they also have that funky Fire Warrior that they could run for some small world lines. I think there's just a lot of experimentation. Impy's going to go wild. You're going to see him running the deck.
Mm-hmm. I think Pendulum might be pretty good. It's mostly a case of if people are going to respect Pendulum with their side decks, because if people start caring about Pendulum more, they'll just run all the MSTs and stuff like that, and the deck will just be offline. But
yeah, it might live and die.
Yeah,
but
put Fairywind on the side,
that,
GG.
like if we're expecting like more of a controlled turn one break my board, I hate those formats because Dogmatika ruined this game for me. But if we're expecting those, I don't think Pen has a chance. But if we're not expecting those and people don't side for those, I think Pen might be pretty good, assuming that Folo takes my advice. But regarding like more specifically like what we're seeing with DD and stuff, like I think DD is pretty good. I hope that people stop building for Kepler Tober. I know Kepler's really good as an opener, but it's not your only opener. There's also a lot of back row decks that I think are really strong right now. I might regret mentioning them if they show up, but then again, I won't be participating, so it doesn't matter to me. There's also like Altergeist. I think Altergeist is good by itself. Like I don't know why people don't play it.
Well, they had your chance. Now you only get one Meluseek.
Exactly.
But it's still just as good.
I think the showing of DG with how good the Metalfoes are. I don't know why people aren't playing Metalfoes outside of just Caddy for Hoppier. I think you should be using Metalfoes anytime.
Alpha, the master of beasts.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, yeah.
I think Metalfoes are really solid.
Dragons are still there.
Yeah, of course, Dragon Maids, other stuff like
Dragon Maids, Rulers. I think they get a little bit more stuff that eked through with I believe there's the Melody of Awakening Dragon Searcher with the new Blue Eyes card.
Yeah, there's also
and
the,
on that topic
Tyrant of D
as well. Blue Eyes White Dragon is definitely going to be good coming to this new format with all their new cards.
Yep. Blue Eyes White Dragon gets a buff. We'll see how it can compete. You know, it doesn't have the options that it did a couple seasons ago with the good Synchro 10s that were running around.
Yeah, and my build specifically, like back when everybody got to play Baron, I played Baron. Like I just Formula Synchron Baron. That's just a TCG combo that you can play in Blue Eyes because this game has so many TCG combos. But anyway, in regards to like the new set, with the new set, my Blue Eyes deck has been pretty consistent. Like the only times I've bricked were where I'm drawing like advance, and I honestly think I should start cutting advance. But outside of that, like the game shouldn't go too long. Like you're able to represent like 9k damage, an additional like several pops, and like I don't know, I think Blue Eyes is really in a really good spot in terms of like a beatdown deck. I think they're honestly more favored than like Gem Knights.
Yeah, I think so.
Like we were just talking about, Floowandereeze, if they get back map and M-Pen as well as having the new card, it's definitely also just going to be a good deck next format.
That's going to be the deck to beat, hands down. I don't care.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you get back map, I don't care.
It's going to be the deck to beat. Can you beat M-Pen? Run your chalices, run your droplets. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and if you out it and it gets banished, Toucan brings it back. If you out it and it's not banished, Toucan and Shree bring it back.
Oh God, I love Flunder.
There's a couple other stuff from Battle of Chaos that some people have experimented to. They're really hyped about water with the new Ice Jade stuff.
Oh yeah.
They have a little bit
Libromancer?
of like Libromancer. I don't know. I really just don't know about that deck.
I know Whiteworks was like talking about like, oh dude, Libromancer's actually secret broken.
Yeah, at first he was on the fence about it. He was like, this is trash. And I was like, no, you got to run the other cards. But they're very like one turn brick party, but like it's not that different from what we're already dealing with, so I'm fine with them. I don't think they're enough to make rituals particularly broken, especially since they're losing White Knight, and we have a lot of ritual counters that people aren't playing. So if you are afraid of rituals, I think they are very easily to fight against, especially since everybody can run Foolish Burial for Aerial and banish all of their engine.
Let me think. What other decks would be good? I mean,
Mutant might be able to crack. I know a lot of people have really tried to push Mutant, but I think their new card Mutant.
Mutator.
Yeah, Mutator.
It is Mutant in the TCG.
Wait,
very
it is Mutant. Oh my God! It is really Mutant.
That is why.
But it's very, very good at tutoring out the big guys. It can special summon itself. It plays really well under that 3-summon Trinity stuff without expending too much resources.
1-for-1 target as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Piri Reyes map target as well.
I think one deck that may come into fruition is like some type of 3-axis psychic E-Telly centric deck with the new punk cards like the punk search the Foxy Tune summon the Madame Spider, make Cherubini dump something. Then the E-Telly can also summon out Mutator, it can summon out SD46, MO05, and I think that'll be like potentially a good deck coming into this.
So Level 3 decks are having a field day. Level 3s are happy.
So to bounce off more of that, like I believe when Matajatica came back for a bit to play there, like of that, and also old member of the council, but that's another thing. They had a pretty legit Phantom Knight build, and I thought it was like really oppressive because it was just back row city and infinite recursion, and honestly could threaten Link 4s at any time. Thank God Accesscode is gone. There was also after that, I believe, a period where Anju came back and played like a 3-axis synchro deck. I thought that was really cool. With like the Christians. And then after that, we had 41 featuring most of the punk playtesting, but also he had a build with the Phantom Knight cards as well. And he showed me a specific line where I was not able to play because there was the negate on top of the Omni negate searchable by like the Phantom Knight engine already, which has like, man, how do I explain these things without going to the specific?
You're giving us
you're doing pretty good.
Just a tease.
A lot of negates. A lot of negates and a lot of protections. If you try to out their stuff, they will just flip wing. Like, I don't know. 3-axis definitely seems really solid. I thought they were really solid for a while, ever since we got Phantom Rage, I think it was. But honestly, I hope more eyes on the punk stuff helps people see them. Because they're a really cool deck.
I think I might dabble into that a little bit, so you might see that in a future deck breakdown, potentially.
On the same pack, actually, Exorcister, not also maybe a little shy of attention. It doesn't quite offer so much as a deck type, but the Xyz monsters, I think, do.
Yeah.
Because you have a generic rank 4 now that searches its rank up change thing into a quick effect negate. And I mean literally generic rank 4 to level 4 monsters.
Yeah, that's exactly the engine I recommend anyone trying to play them as well as. Just don't bother with any of the main deck monsters. It's not worth it right now until we get better uses for them.
Yeah, just make Caspitel and search Armament.
Yeah, make the ST searcher, search the armament, and then tag out to the respective one that you need to tag out to.
And a very relevant type attribute combination, Light Warrior, who remembers face cards.
Yeah, face cards. Oh boy.
Let me try to think of like maybe dinos. If someone really brings dinos in, dinos can probably find their way being the deck to beat.
Yeah, please bring in
Mhm.
dinos so we can finally kill Lost World again. Thank you. And
Dino should be interesting. Something that people might not want to hear. Albaz soup is just a thing that still exists, even with Incredible Ecclesia at 1 and Masquerade gone. But that whole series of Dogmatika, Despia, and other support is still there, and it almost qualifies as good stuff now. But that can just be thrown into every deck.
yeah,
If
I'm
you
playing
feel
in
like
Blue
it.
Eyes right now.
There you go, yeah. No, I honestly think Dogmatika, Ecclesia, Fleur are just generic staples.
Some potential rogue decks. I know Impy has been kind of dabbling into rocks a little bit. I know rocks are still pretty good. Block Dragon, of course, is just a card and a half. The new
Epsilon the Magnet Warrior.
Yeah, the new Magnet Warrior is pretty good.
Dope card.
Yeah, gets Berserkion out way faster.
Anything
I
else?
think also some of the recent top decks still have some legs to stand on. Despia,
Plunder.
even after its hits,
Yeah,
I think
Plunder,
Plunder will
absolutely.
still be around. Agnister can still be played. Any deck that Impy's talked with in the last year is still good and playable, even if we've made hits to it.
Yeah. If you ever want to get like a good Trinity list or just something to step on, just base your deck on, Impy's kind of your guy.
Half and half, though. I will say, MBT did try one of his lists before, absolutely hated it, and dropped immediately. But his lists aren't for everyone.
Yeah.
I recommend talking to MP specifically if you're going to pick up one of his lists.
You see, the thing
They
about
have
Impy
historically let people down like well.
is that he can run a 60-card deck and always draw the perfect 5-card hand.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a skill. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
why other people aren't using their skills.
Skill
but, you
issue.
know.
Skill diff. Yeah.
Overall, I think
Right.
this format is going to be. Ooh,
I'll
this
say
format be a
creative.
little.
I'll say creative. There's a lot of different ideas and opportunities and engines and packages and choices to be made, but I don't know if there's just a dominant strategy waiting to slap people down.
Oh,
That'd be an absolute
Oh.
sack fest of just if you went first and you opened your engine plus back row, you probably won. If you went second and opened like a lightning storm or twin twister, you probably won. Like
It's
I
a
don't
good
know.
season for deck list sharing. It's a good season to make decks.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a good season to compete? We'll see.
You share a
There's also
deck with
the
me?
leftovers of like dealing with like Cosmo and stuff. Like people still haven't been exploring that all the way. I think it's only been Erica. Like there's
Yeah.
a Cosmo mutant variant that I recommended that people haven't tried. I believe Sonic wanted to try it at one point but didn't. Like it's all sorts of things on
Yeah, I
the
think,
table that
like-
are really oppressive.
Like a Cosmo Punk Mutant, just E-Telly centric deck.
Yeah. There's 40 something decks that could compete on the top level.
Yeah, that's the thing I love about Trinity is that it's very diverse. There's a lot of decks that you can get pretty far with. But yeah, if you're looking for meta, a lot of the stuff that was meta before is good now.
Shocking.
Just check your deck lists and
Yeah,
make a couple of right clicks and a couple left clicks.
It's not really that difficult. Yeah. So overall, I think the format isn't gonna be. I guess it would be it gets kind of better than it was. Last format.
I think it's the new product that might drive interest more so than the ban list.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially since things like Dark Magician get a little bit better. Not really. Blue Eyes White
120
Dragon gets better, and of
yeah.
course Blue Eyes White Dragon is like the most popular deck ever. But yeah.
Is there a channel that people can look at if they want to see upcoming lists or profiles or stuff? Is there a thing?
There is a YouTube channel called the Trinity Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube channel, which I will be making every single Sunday deck breakdown episodes, which you can also, if you wanted to, join the server and tell me what I should play for that thing. That is going to be probably one of those resources. I might even make 2 every weekend. I think I might even make it 2.
Content machine.
Dude, Light Machine's fun as hell. Yeah, Light Machine also. Don't sleep on ABC Insider.
ABC is unlimited now. Cyber Dragon Infinity is unlimited now.
Yeah, Cyber Dragon's also just really good in general.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to see just a lot of refinement of all these scattered decks that haven't been getting much love. Hopefully the channel will help out with that, having more profiles.
But if you refine it too much, it'll get hit.
Just don't enter.
Yeah, exactly. Just like sit on your broken list until the YTC, and then just like come in with like the most broken, over the top, format defining list, and then just like sweep your way through the YTC, get the top cut, and then just like have your deck hit, and then go back into your little cave where you can keep brewing.
Exactly. Or bubble 3 YTCs in a row with Swordsoul.
Mm-hmm.
Another option. Alrighty. I'll be scooting.
Well, it was very fun talking with all of you about this new format. You know, me coming back in the Trinity recently, definitely been a wild ride. Just like even with like the 4 days, for like a week I've been here. Gee, it's been like a heck of a time. But yeah, now I would say now is a pretty good time to get into Trinity if you want to. So
go build.
Yeah, go ham. Build something crazy. Have us tell you that it's wrong, or suggest a deck idea, and have us throw you a deck list at you and say, yeah, you should copy my deck list.
One other thing is that if anyone feels like bringing something up, I know we have a couple listeners, I can scoot out. Maybe if someone wants to get their 2 cents in.
Yeah, if anyone currently wants to get their 2 cents in before this podcast ends, you can you can request to join or forever hold your peace. All right, 41 wants to join in. That's understandable. All right.
Thank you, Liquid. I'll also say, like, if you ever need like help with like trying to analyze like metas or specific strategies, I can always help with like deck building.
All right, Guilty Gear, you got next, but 41, what do you want to say?
Okay, I want to go way the fuck back. I just and everything. I want to go back to. I was gonna have something to say about combination. I forgot about that. I do want to say about light stage though, that in regards to it getting hit, I think that's stupid, and that's purely a byproduct of Despia being I would argue, a fundamentally like stupid archetype, and that what Trickstar does on its own does not equate to it being justified to be put back to 1 point, because as it was beforehand, Trickstar does not. It's not snowbally per se. It's just continuous value, and so if you combine it with other stronger archetypes or engines, yes, it can perform much better. As we fucking saw, like 2 summers ago during that period where we had Verte, Change of Heart, etc., all that stuff.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Options. Trickstar was amazing that hour, at least I thought so. But Trickstar is, I personally think that it, as an archetype or as an engine or a deck focus, it's not that good. It provides continuous value, but it's meh on consistency. And even though it, any field spell searcher gives access to the archetype, that's it. You have to run multiple Candina or hard draw them at that point. And if you don't access the engine itself, the rest of the monsters are pretty much useless.
All right. Thank you for sharing your opinions. Back to the audience you go, and and Guilty Gear.
And we'll say, adding on to that, it does have the issue of drawing them in the right order.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but other than that,
No disrespect, of course, 41. No disrespect, of course.
He's one of the better Trickstar pilots.
All right, Guilty Gear, you have requested to be invited, so I have accepted your request. Welcome.
Hey. Oh.
Hello.
Speak now, forever hold your peace, I guess.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
we can indeed hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. All right. I wasn't gonna even vote on the ban list because I didn't really play the format. This last set, I didn't play the format, so I didn't really know what was on it.
Imagine not clicking ban on everything you don't know.
No, what
Thank you for avoiding.
No, what I did was I just put if it was a floodgate, I put ban. If not, then I'd just be like, okay, I don't care, except like adventure. I thought would be adventure. Obviously, I banned that, but otherwise, I don't think I banned anything that I saw, but I kind of like being hands off. It's like a little Christmas present. You don't know what you're getting. I only really have to say there's a card that's on the list that doesn't deserve it.
Which
You probably
is
know what I'm talking about. It's a dinosaur card.
I'm sorry.
It's Lost World.
That
Yeah.
that deserves to be banned. You're right.
Yeah, it deserves something. I'm not sure if it's banned. It deserves,
Hmm.
it deserves its a chance.
it deserves a
Tell
stern
me
talking
more
to.
about how you made Dolka with Overtax in addition to, like, I think Savage at one point, or was it Baron? Yeah, tell me more about that with Lost World.
That was after the limit. No, that was after I went to 1.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need it. Get it
Yo,
out.
then it doesn't matter. Why are you taxing me for a deck that could just summon the Dolka anyway? Why don't you just ban Dolka? Why don't you just ban dinosaur cards and say we have Lost World?
They're
I don't know.
dragons. They're not dinosaurs.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna say Guilty Gear is that Santa isn't real.
Well,
Oh my god. What is that?
I'm sorry, Guilty. Oh, my fault. All right. All jokes aside and everything. Those are some valid things to be said. Definitely have to agree with that. If someone is going to play dinosaur, you should do it now before we all get our heads out of our asses and realize that Lost World's broken. So definitely now is the time to play dinosaur. If you're
If you check out some of my replays too, all of the Overraptor openers are very consistent, and you can just make Dolka if you want to. You don't even need Lost World. This deck is sleeper.
All right. So one last call for anyone who wants to say anything that hasn't spoken already. If you want to say something, now is your last time. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. Okay, Pancake, you want to say something else? Sure, that's fine. Oh, you have been invited to the audience. Or not audience, speaking. Pancake, you there? Gee, I invited you. Alright. While we're waiting for Pancake to come back or something, oh no, Pancake is back. Alright, but you're gonna have to wait for just a second.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, just already. I guess just maybe my impression, like on I guess the Despia stuff for the upcoming format, like so pretty much they're only like with Masquerade gone, they're basically just another kind of fusion engine. I mean, they're a really good fusion engine, you know, like with Feeder and Aluber and their loops with you know, you know, sorry, I'm tripping over myself.
You're fine.
Like basically,
No, you're all good.
yeah, they're still good. I mean, they're basically you have to. I think, I mean, granted, I don't know much about the meta, but I would reckon that they would still be a bit of a threat or something, or at least an interesting idea to play with fusions. I mean, because they can play with basically just about any light and dark monster out there. So, like, I guess it all depends on like piloting skill, because like they're not overpowered. I mean, granted, like they're the level 10 fusion, I think it's pretty burny and
Yeah, that
kind of funny, but otherwise it definitely is like now with Masquerade gone, it's definitely going to depend on a bit of pilot skill. And I should also mention their new card, Branded Disciple. So like that's going to be an interesting toy, but granted, like you don't want to search it on turn 1 because it doesn't make a fusion. And but basically, like every now and then when it comes up, it's going to be funny. Like it can actually negate Ghost Ash and Snow Blossom and other 0 attack monsters like Invaler. So it's gonna be interesting. Like, I mean, I would guess that like maybe instead of like Aliber search feeder, you actually, I guess, go into weird like poly search thing, like where you make a fusion with poly or even branded in red, and then like you have an Aliber search disciple, and then it's another like negate board. I mean, it's a soft negate board, but it's still, but with Rai-Oh that can make
Mm-hmm.
1/0 attack, that it becomes more of a threat. So I just wanted to give that shout out.
All right. I will give you the respectful leave. Thank you for joining us. Now, Mercurial Vox, you want to say something? You also have a
Really?
fellow bird profile picture, so I'll bring you up to the stage as you
No
have
way.
requested. You have been requested to join to enter the stage.
Bug got a reflag.
Now I gotta re-invite you. I have re-invited you to speak. You click enter. You click enter speaking. I don't know. What leave, rejoin? I guess. Ain't that rough?
Well, you hate to see it.
I mean, okay, he's back. He's requesting again. All right, we're gonna re-accept the invite. Is the button there yet? Damn. Well, unlucky. Not much you can do about that. But yeah. Overall, I think it was a very good discussion about the ban list and about Trinity Format and how Trinity Format is. So yeah, thank you for coming on, Beast. You're the only person who came on who stayed the entire time besides me.
Indeed.
So yeah, thank you very much. You sound a lot like the dual logs, by the way.
Do I?
You do.
I don't know how to take that.
Either way, thank you for watching, and those in the audience. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you actually made it this far and watched this entire podcast. You are an absolute legend if you watched all this. But I gotta say for you to subscribe, because I feel like on the deck breakdown I literally just made, it was like 40% of the people who are watching were not subscribed. So click the subscribe button. It is completely free. It costs you $0, and it also gives us more recognition. So yeah, thank you all, and good morning, good afternoon, good night. Bye bye.
Sayonara.